You and I together right now, we're going to solve a problem that most people are not even aware of. And if that's your case, that is a huge problem. What is this problem? Imagine this. Wherever you are, you have an idea, you have a desire, you have a goal, and then you have an image about how it would look like if you can get it done. You have a number, or maybe you have a position, or maybe you have an KPI for your success, which you want to have in half a year, maybe in 3 months or in a year. Now, in between, there are many processes. There are many players that participate in between. Creative thinking, emotional intelligence, strategic thinking, your thoughts, your emotions. And if these players in between, which are meant to help you to elaborate a plan so that you can get where you want to get, so that you can make it to happen, if all these players in between don't have rules and they're just playing randomly, they're just running, then all these processes which are processed within your mind are going to overheat your thinking process, and then you end up in procrastination, self-doubt. You start to think that maybe you are not enough, you don't have what it takes, or that whatever you want to get, whatever you want to make happen, you're not worthy of it. And that's a huge problem. And the problem is that in between is your mind that is so powerful. And if you could just have a couple of tools or a framework that will help you to learn how to use your mind, this process becomes so much easier, so much clearer, because you start to have rules and principles how to organize these processes. And after I help someone to manage their thoughts and their minds in a clearer and more efficient way, they say, "Oh my God, it's been so many years and I didn't have even the smallest idea of how much power I do have, but I didn't know it. I was just misusing it in such a way that wasn't efficient. And rather than helping me to get where I want to get, it was working against me. And I don't want that for you." And that's why the title of this video is How to Use Your Mind. Because I assure you, most of us don't know how to think. Yeah, we can think a little bit, like walking. If you just look, you're a child, so you're looking around and you just started to walk. Or then you start to run. But if you want to become a professional runner, then you've got to really pay attention to every stage of your technique while you're learning how to run. Many people can run, but only few are professional at running, and they become experts, they become champions at running. The same thing is with your mind. Everybody can think a little bit, but if you really want to use your mind at its best, at its most potential, then you've got to go a little bit into this specifics. And that's what we're going to do today. It's not going to be very complicated, I assure you. Everybody can do that. We can go much deeper, but we're not going to do that. This is a simple framework in 3 stages that is going to make your life so much easier. And it's going to give you a bag of tools that you can use so that you can use your mind in the most efficient way. That's what we're going to do today. So welcome to Exploraself MBA, Master Wisdom and Leadership for Business and Life. My name is Alexandr, and I'm going to be with you today during this masterclass. What I want you to do is to grab a piece of paper and a pen and take some notes. I would like you to participate. And maybe you have something to add. Maybe you want to make it even better. Or maybe you have a question, so that you take notes. That's very, very important. You don't just watch, but you participate. Why is that so important? Because imagine that you go to watch a soccer session of players playing soccer. And if they're just randomly running on the field, you say, guys, what was the point? Can you please make sure that you know why you are running on the field? Well, what's the ball? What's the score? What's the point of all of this? Let me know, because otherwise you'd be bored. You'd just be looking at at all these players playing left and right, and that's not interesting, right? Because what's the point? So the same thing is participating and taking notes. It's not just watching how we're going to manage this framework, but you are in the game. You are participating so that you can go through experience, not just taking this information, which I'm going to share with you, but you can go through an experience so that you can feel it and start to think it already before you get to the end, before you understand it fully. All right? So the art of thinking rationally. Why is that so important to think? And then we're going to dive into the system and to the framework that I'm going to share with you. Progress is impossible without change. And those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. So this ability to know what to change and how to change our minds is very important. Otherwise, there is no progress. If there's no progress, then how you're going to get to that desire that you have, to that image, to that ideal scenario that you have for yourself or for your business. You might have a huge amount of information. You have so much knowledge. You might be reading books and watching others, but that is not going to make you a professional runner just because you watch how do people run professionally. That might give you some inspiration, but you've got to be in the middle of the game. That's very important. So observe, control, design. This is just an introductory framework. It's not the framework itself. Now, OCD, it reminded me, it just happened casually that it's like, oh, observe, control, design, OCD. What's OCD? It's obsessive compulsive disorder. It's a disorder marked by uncontrollable and recurring thoughts, repetitive and excessive behaviors, or both. But that's not what we're going to learn today. But the OCD stands for observe the players, control the rules, design the game. So we're going to beat the OCD with a new OCD. Observe the players, control the rules, design the game. You might say, okay, what are the players, what are the rules, and what's the game? The game is how to elaborate a strategic plan between where you are and the end goal that you have for yourself. So this is the game. In the middle, in the between, there are many players, emotions, thinking, being creative, being tough, being disciplined, being flexible. And sometimes seemingly we need all of them, but sometimes we need one, sometimes we need more than the other. So we got to figure out also some rules. What are the rules? When do I have to rely more on my emotions, and when is the moment to be more critic, when I have to allow myself to be more dreamy, to be more inspired, and when is the time to be more realistic. So we've got to figure out also some rules, and each of us has some personal rules. That's why this framework is something that you can start with, but then you can modify. You have to modify it and make it for yourself to make it functional. And the most important player in today's masterclass is your thinking, your mind. All right. So we can look at this from two perspectives: how to achieve great things and avoid getting stuck in overthinking, impulsive decision making, and self-doubt. Where we can look at it from a different perspective: how to use our thinking process in the most efficient way, transforming your mind into a performance machine. So from one side is how can I get away from something, but from another perspective, how can I get closer? So you already now see a little dance between the same objective, but with two different perspectives. One is how can I get away from impulsive decision making? How can I get away from overthinking? But how can I get closer to something? I haven't planned to talk about these two perspectives, but now we can look. There are two perspectives. And sometimes even switching this perspective, which we're going to learn in today's masterclass, is essential. It's about the same objective, but different perspectives. And according to how do you bring the perspective, that is going to decide how you're going to think about what to do, how to do, when to do, and where to go. So we're going to split it in three parts. So this masterclass is going to be split in three parts. One is the input, the process, and the output. The input, the process, and the output. I invite you to look at your mind as something like this. Something comes in, inspiration, ideas, plans, desires, imagination, whatever. Each comes in, an image, an information, some knowledge, a masterclass you watch, you talk to someone, there is an exchange of information, you read, you apply. So there is so much input. You can hear, you can see, you can read, you can create, generate something. And that's the input. Then you have the process. Where do I put this information? How do I organize it? In such a way that I get done the idea that I have at the beginning. Let's think for a very simple example. You have a product for your clients, and you know that the delivery, for example, process is very complicated. Probably you are already aware of it. And you know, or you probably observed that 20% of your time goes into delivering the product because there are not processes established so that the process goes smooth with the minimal participation from your side or from someone that you have put in charge. Now, the idea is clear. I want to make this process more efficient. But how? Where do I have to start? Who should I ask? Am I able to implement that change? How much is going to take this change? How much time? Am I sure that this is the right modification? So you want to bring into your, as glasses for yourself during today's masterclass, input, process, output. And you always want to make sure that you know what's the input. Where from have you taken the information that you are processing? Who have you listened to? What made you to do that research or to listen to someone or to pay attention to something? What made me? So there's the input. There is the process. How much time do you spend into the processing? How do you process? Are you processing or just simply putting things together and you hope that this thing is going to make something tasty and efficient? And the output. What is the output that I'm looking for? So the whole process includes these three phases: input, process, and the output. So we're not going to go into too many details. We're going to keep it simple so that you can start to implement today. So we're not going to go into the spiritual or into the soul's desires and the trauma and how is all these, how's your brain functioning between the upper brain, the lower brain, and the midbrain, and so on and so forth. We're not going to go into all of that, not even into this. We're going to keep it very simple. Input, process, get it done. And how to put all these phases together. Some people really struggle with the input. They really pay too much attention to so many other things and they bring so much information into their heads, into their minds. It's overwhelming. Then they don't know what to do with it. Some people struggle with the thinking. Right at the moment when they start to think, emotions kicks in and they're like, oh my God, I'm not smart enough. And some people struggle with how to get it done. What's the specific result that I'm looking for? What specifically I want to change in my business or in my life? And I assure you, so many people pay so much attention sometimes to the input, reading, listening, watching, reading, listening, watching, even reflecting, even thinking, organizing, but then they don't get it done because they haven't specifically made clear from themselves what exactly am I looking for? You might say, that's not me, I have it. Well, if I ask you right now to write down 100 specifics about the outcome that you're looking for, even if it's a midterm or a short term, maybe it's a week goal or a month goal, by the 7th or the 10th out of the 100, people stop because they don't know exactly what is that. I have an idea, a feeling about what it would look like, what would be the best outcome, but I don't know specifically how does it look for me or in my business. And that's very important. We have to solve it today. Remaining at the input stage, is not going to allow you to experience it and see it from within. Because maybe at some things you're amazing, very good, and probably should stop thinking that you're not good at that specific skill. Probably you are, but you've got to see that for yourself. Moving forward, the output. So we have the input, the process, and the output. We're moving to the third stage, creative versus destructive. If I could have 1,000 times the outcome of my thinking, what would happen? Because you might say, well, I'm not destructive. I'm not thinking about how can I destroy my thinking or myself, or how can I run away from the desire that I have, or from that scenario that would make me fulfilled, that I'm working at my best and expressing my full potential. Well, I want to challenge you a little bit. Once I heard this idea that said, when we don't believe we're worthy of something, we're working very hard at getting rid of it. Wow. Wow. It changed the course of my life, the course of my life for a degree or two. When we within ourselves don't believe that we're worthy of it, we start in the process to add so many details. You remember the trap, right? You remember the trap. Details to details, conclusions to conclusions. So you've got the input, the process, and the output. And if in the input there is a mess, then in the process, in the middle is not working well, it's because mostly for these two reasons. From conclusions, you jump to more conclusions, or from details that you've got that are supposed to give you more clarity, you jump to even more details. So here, these are the two traps: conclusions to conclusions, details to details. How it should work: conclusions to details. Once this is the conclusion, what are the details that are going to allow me to fulfill or to apply that conclusion and see if does it work or not? Or conclusions to details, or details to conclusions. I've done this, I've done that, I've done this, I've done that, I've tested this, I've tested that. What's the conclusion? Is this something I want to keep or not? Right? So you know now those two traps of the worst thinking process. Now you might say, I'm not into the destructive way of thinking. That's not something that I look. Okay, but still sometimes we might. And we're going to reveal together, is this the case or not? Because sometimes it is. So this question can already introduce you to this filter. Whatever you were thinking today about, try to imagine the average thought, or the average intensity, or the average quality of my thoughts. If I could imaginarily multiply by 1,000 times, what would happen? Because it's saying, nah, a little bit of being negative and self-doubt, it's not so bad, it's okay, it's all right. Yes, maybe not. Because it might seem to you that's a little bit. But I talk to people that sometimes they're so negative, they wake up in the morning, my gosh, such a bad day, and it's so hot, and then I'm saying, wow, but yeah, yesterday was fresh, was raining, and they say, yeah, oh my gosh, that rain yesterday was so intense. However you switch, wherever you go, they always have something negative to say about. And let's not remember here, I'm going to go a little bit away, then we're going to come back. About negative people, what you want to remind to yourself about negative people, that your attention to them is their oxygen. The more attention you pay to them, the more oxygen they have. Even if you leave them and say, oh, I paid attention to you enough, 5 minutes. You don't say it, but you say, but I gotta go. They're happy. They're happy because you gave them 5 minutes. You give them 10 seconds. They're happy of it. So do you want to get rid of negative people? Because let's not confuse it with supporting someone for a period of time, helping someone and serving one. That's not the case. We talk here about a lifestyle. Because look about this, about negative people want to tell you. Imagine you are a guest in my house and the toilet is broken and it's smelling, you know, like what? Right? Okay. So you can once say like, oh, hey, you've got problems. Like, yeah, I know I've got this problem. You come a second time, it's like, hey, oh, well, it's smelling. Like, yeah, I know I have this problem. Have you done something? No, I just have this problem. Okay. Boom. Third, fourth time. You're not going to come for the fifth time because, bro, you got a problem in your house. You got to adjust that. It stinks. And you'll say, yeah, I know I have this problem. Well, you don't have a problem. You have a huge transformation, and you've got to that level where you say you've got a problem, but actually don't believe you've got a problem. You like that problem because it allows you not to do something else to do something else. So that's not, I've got a problem. I like being in this way. So that's why with the negative people, they're negative for a week, for 2 weeks, for a month, for 2 months. Have you done something? No, I've got this problem. I'm negative. No, you're not negative. You're using it as an excuse so that you're feeding your negativity with the attention that I and you give to them. And that's a huge difference. So go and start doing solve the problem. And if you need help, I'm going to run and help you to solve that problem. But not when you get to that complacency with the problem because you use it as an excuse. That's not the case. Go and do some, you got to do something. But that's not that we have to accept just because they like it. No, you like it, keep it for yourself. That's a difference. So that's why with the creative and the destructive, sometimes we tell to ourselves, hey, it's okay if it stinks a little bit during the day, multiply it by 1,000 times and you'll see what you've got. Because 1,000 times, that's 1,000 days. That's 3 years. So if you could have the same thinking style for the next 3 years, the same style that you've got today, are these going to be 3 years of fulfillment, growth, and work? Or is this, there are going to be 3 years of sting and getting worse? Because every day is a piece of life. So how you live one day, that's how you're probably gonna live the future. If you agree to it and if you say, this is it, and that's okay, then that's how it is going to be, if not worse. So that's why if you might say for yourself, I'm not destructive, look at yourself, the quality of your thoughts, of the quality of the process that you are going through. And that is going to, because it's like zooming, it's like multiplying it 1,000x, and like, oh, half an hour a day, I'm in constant self-doubt. Why? Creative and destructive. The creative output is goals. What are the goals? So you're directing your process thinking process towards goals, towards a mission. I'm on a mission to, next one, a cause. You've got a cause that is near and dear to your heart, and that's the cause you're fighting. That's what you want to bring. That's what the value that you want to bring in the world. A betterment process. Like, I don't know the mission yet. I don't know what is my specific goal in half a year or a year, but I know that I've got to work on improving my communication skill. That's great. Work on that. So betterment, working on something, getting better at something for a period of time. Probably sometimes it happens. That's all we've got. And that's amazing. Then your input and your thinking process, the middle, are going to be aligned with the output, and the output in this case is betterment, growth. I want to launch. I don't know how. I want to grow my business, but I don't know how. I have only this product. But if you're looking for growth, okay, what's the specific growth that I'm looking for? Do I want to serve more people? Do I want to increase the salary for my team that works for me because I really care for them and I can? So if I can be a little bit more creative, I can help my team increase the salary for my team. That would be so amazing. How can I do that? So that this whole team is also motivated, not only inspired, but also motivated, and they change the quality of their lives. How can I do that? Whoa! Now I'm going to be so creative. When you have 2 kids or 3 kids, every father can tell you now, woohoo, you become very creative. Why? Because we know we are made in God's image. And we forget about this big truth. We assume that we just have these doubts and problems and things and thinking, and I like creativity, I like strategy. Are you sure? Are you sure there's missing a piece? We're just misusing those which you already have. We're made in God's image. We've got everything we need in order to create the best outcome, serving others, pleasing God, and becoming better at what we do. So we've got to be creative. Why do we have creativity? Not just so we can go around and say, I'm creative. Are you? No, be creative. And if you are creative, you're going to be creative. Why do we have this? So that we can be creative. Not just stuck to one complaint and to one model of thinking. And when we're looking at this kind of outcome, how can I be more in God's image? Serving others, helping others, doing my best for myself so that I can improve the world and I can myself better and I can grow and I can alleviate that problem that exists in the world so I can be part of this movement, being on my mission, achieving my goals. This is the creative outcome. Don't look at the, oh, this might happen, that might happen. Yeah, but how can I get to that kind of output? I want to grow my business to $1 million in 3 months, or I want in a year, or maybe in 3 years, or maybe you have other kind of desires. How can I be more in God's image? And by that, I mean, how can I put all I've got to work so that I can work more and better? That's creative. Rather than dancing hand in hand with busyness. I'm busy. That's destructive. Rather than being creative, you do so much work, but you just use it as an excuse to be busy. Or ego. And another here for the ego. Somebody asked me a couple of days ago, how can I be sure that this is not for my ego and it's for something great? Then ask yourself the same question that I used a couple of minutes ago. If you could achieve 1,000 times more in what you are working on, the output that you're going to have at the end of the week or the month or the 3 months or semester, on one hand, it is the purpose for the world. And on the other hand, how important am I going to feel? If this one will get much bigger and this smaller or the same, probably you are towards your ego. If you become smaller in your eyes, saying, I can do much more and I could be some more creative, but how can I? Because I didn't. But the results are getting even bigger. You are definitely on the right path. Asking this question, who gets the reward? Who gets the reward? So that you make sure that this is not only for you or mostly for you. Because we are all selfish. If we say, we are all selfish. We want this, we want a better quality of life. And that's also great. Because by being better and earning more and being a better person, oh, you bring so much light into the world for family, for neighbors, for everyone around. That's so in the end also that has a very noble end goal. On the right side, business ego, benefits, advantage, prevalence, self-centered. This is the destructive. Why is it destructive? Because you also might get rich, and you'll get rich, but you'll be unhappy. Not because you're rich, but because you sacrificed everything while you're getting rich. And that's not only about getting rich. That's also for everything else. If you want more, what you want to get more than who you're going to serve along the way, you're going to get it. You might get it and be very unhappy and empty within. Why? Because along the way, you've became so self-centered, only me, only me, only me, and you forgot about everything else. Then what do you feel? You feel empty within, and you can't even enjoy what you have achieved. And along the way, I can assure you that most of unhappy people, they don't become unhappy in just 1 second. It's not that they don't achieve their goal now, because achieving goal is a process. It happened along the way. The output was destructive because it was not towards building betterment for a cause, for a mission, for goals, working as you never forget that you are made in God's image, but you become self-centered. So actually, if you can take line by line, and you can look now on the screen, goals, business, mission, ego, cause, benefits, betterment, advantage, growth, prevalence, God's image, self-centered. I've connected them. I haven't shown them the connection. In the next slide, no. but I've put them exactly as I have observed them in my work, helping others and solving these problems for myself. And when I started to move them one by one, because I started 99.9% on the destructive. And step by step, one day at a time, one month at a time, one goal at a time, one skill at a time, moving. And the better you become at moving from one activity, one thinking process from one side towards the other, on the other side of the river, the faster you move them, because then you become more powerful at managing, at changing. And remember, we began this video at the beginning. If you progress allows you to get where you want to get, and that requires change. And if you can't change your mind, then there's no progress. And there's no progress, you can't get things done. That's why you really have to start with the end. From being destructive or thinking destructively. Because all the self-doubt, what's all the self-doubt? It's because you're focused too much on the ego. You're not focused on your mission. That's why you're doubting yourself. Why? Because can I see myself as big and self-important as I think I should? Oh my gosh, probably not. I doubt myself. But if you focus on your mission, you say, how can I support this mission a little bit more? Oh, I can do this today. Do you doubt yourself? No, I know I can do this little, but I'm gonna do it because I'm part of that mission. You know your goals. So you're not just busy. Oh, I'm in a business, I'm an entrepreneur, how much you make? I don't know. You know, it's not a lot. Because you find more pleasure into being busier than others and in identifying yourself with those who are very busy, so that you kind of can feel better about yourself rather than getting things done, achieving your goals. So as long as you're focused on your self-importance rather than on your self-significance, here is one great, amazing, powerful tool that changed my life and changed everybody's life that paid attention to this one. Self-importance versus self-significance. Self-importance, how important can I see myself? Important, very self-important. And self-significant is how important are you for others? Because if you are just for yourself, you're important to yourself, nothing changes. If you're out of the mission, out of the team, out of the business, nothing changes. That's your self-importance, and you're important for yourself. But self-significance is when you're so important for others that without you, people won't have the greatest leader that they could have had, or they wouldn't have the greatest supporter as you, or the cause wouldn't move forward. The mission couldn't be accomplished because you are out of the game. That's being significant rather than being self-important. You want to clear the 90% of your problems in your business as a leader. Switch your focus from self-importance to self-significance. Your life is never going to be the same again. This is a law that works and will always work. Do it, change your life, and grow maintaining the same direction. So back to the slides. Here is the output that we want to look. Creative versus destructive. So what you've got, before we wrap it up, it's an hour and something. Self-significance versus self-importance. How can I benefit from their trust is the question that every self-centered, selfish person, extreme selfish person has, even leaders, entrepreneurs. How can I benefit from my clients' trust, from my workers, from my team? How can I benefit? And how very significant world-changing leaders and people and entrepreneurs, how can they benefit from my contribution? How can they benefit from my contribution? This is the question that needs to be running morning to night, so that you can start to look towards a creative output, not a destructive output, a creative focused on greatness, on goals, on mission, on your vision, being and behaving as being created in God's image, rather than being self-centered, all for your ego, all for yourself, being extremely focused on your self-importance rather than on your self-significance. This switch is going to change the whole thinking process. The one is, how can I benefit from their trust? it's present, but leave it behind. How can they benefit from my contribution? This is going to make you great, because everybody can be great, and many people are. And even if we are a little bit great, we can become even greater. The input, intentional versus habitual. And the process, you remember, wisdom to practical, practical to wisdom. And always use both in the process. Sometimes wisdom to practical, sometimes practical to wisdom. At the output, self-significance versus self-importance. It's enough to switch from self-importance to self-significance. And the output that you're going to be looking for is going to be proactive, and you're going to automatically use in the process wisdom to practical and practical to wisdom. When you look for that creative, for that creative way of thinking. And all that is going to change the way you manage your input. Because when you look for this greatness in your output, and here is where you begin. If you're watching this masterclass right now, please comment a thumb up or a thank you or a fire emoji. Put a fire emoji and say a word. Because if you're looking here, here's the best secret of this whole masterclass. You start with the end, not with the beginning. What's the greatest output I'm looking for? Then how should I process wisdom to practical, practical to wisdom? What's the input that I've got to build so that I will allow me to process and to get things done? This is the secret. What's the greatest? How am I going to process it? Where do I take the input? If I have it within, I put it to work. If I don't have it yet, I build it. If I can't have it and it will take too much time to develop it, bring others. Look at others. Learn, read faster. So here is the whole framework that I shared with you. The input, the process, the output. And you remember the OCD, our version of OCD, the Exploraself OCD, not the medical OCD. Observe the players. Change the rules. D, design the outcome. So design, change the rules, observe the players, and educate the players, the input, in such a way so that the game can go on. At Exploraself, we're all about self-mastery, self-growth, and self-leadership for entrepreneurs, ambitious individuals, leaders, those who aspire to become better leaders. Maybe you have a small team, maybe you're by yourself in your team and you're looking for guidance. How can I start managing my mindset in such a way that I can start leading rather than being so much focused? Because sometimes it happens that for years you are working by yourself. I know how it is that you just can't get out of that kind of mindset and start delegating things and managing and leading others, not just managing the process and getting out of that. And that's not easy because your mind was for years through doubts and pain and hard work was educated to work in that kind of the framework, and it's hard to get out. If you need help with that, here I am, Alexandr. I'm ready to serve you and to help you to make that shift and bring those questions, those perspectives that are going to allow you to grow, be creative, and to be as we are supposed to be, created in God's image, being creative, growing, sharing, giving to others, and being significant rather than important for ourselves. And that starts with self-mastery, with self-growth and self-leadership, so then we can start leading also others. A program that you can access right now if you go to exploraselfmba.com is Hack Your Mind Before It Hacks You, is another perspective of how to start controlling your mind. And that is going to enrich and empower your toolkit, your mindset, so that you can start leading your life rather than boiling yourself into all these players that want to confuse you. And rather than losing the game, you can change the rules, get the output that you're looking for, and increase the quality of your life and achieving those goals and getting things done. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you for your attention. wish you to be blessed by the best, succeed, grow, be creative, and change the world one action at a time, one day at a time. You and me can do it, and we have to keep doing it. See you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.